Hey guys, Kev here from Inspiring Games. That's our new logo, and we've got some new cards to show you. Let's go. The location cards have had an overhaul. We went back to the start with them with a blank sheet of paper and a new artist. And what we wanted to do was to make them feel less hygienic, more lived in, and also to have more variation within the cards. The cards we had before for the caves were based on sketches that I had made, and they were largely an assembly of corridors and rooms made made beautiful. However, they could arguably be a little bit too samey, so what we wanted to do was to make the cards feel different. So in this case, you have the waterfall card. You can see the streaming waterfall in the top left-hand corner forming a lake around the card, and there is flora flowing around the lake, fungi off to the left-hand side, and even some insects in there as well. To make that happen, our artist looked at varying the depth in the walls so that it wasn't just a standard depth all the way around. We've also looked at changing around the texture in the floors a bit as well so that it doesn't feel quite so uniform. And finally, you can see there are some parts in the card which just add a little bit of difference and immersion in there. So if you look at the boulders lying around the room or the tiny little island in the middle of the lake, that's just stuff that we wanted in there to really add to the game for you. Other things I would point out here, each card now has a name on it because we definitely got the feeling that it was more interesting to say go to the waterfall card than go to card XX3, for example. You'll see that we've overhauled the lighting icons. That was based on feedback we got that simplified icons were far easier to understand. So we have bright, ambient, and dark there in the same place as the name to make it really easy on the card every time you draw it. And then also based on feedback from playtesters and at conventions, we have added in the brightness rating, so the ambience effectively of every exit using the icons themselves, so that it is abundantly clear whether something is dark, bright, or ambient. I would also point out on this card that we have added in the environment icons arrangement, which we replicate throughout the cards. So you'll see there in this case we have an obstacle, a foe, insects, and a flooding icon. And we've tried to go with not just color coding but also shape coding because we are aware of color blindness issues and we really want to work with that. So in the shape coding, you will be able to follow that the pentagon means go to the adventure deck. So go to the adventure deck to find the foe or the obstacle. The insect shows you what is going on in that location. There are insects available which are used for many of the talents, including the druidic talent. Finally, you can see there is a search zone barrier here donated by the barrel. What we found again was that feedback from playtesters was that monochrome icons on the location cards were ultimately easier to see when you were looking at a card from across the table, and fundamentally that's what people wanted. So what we've gone for here is to try and give you a little piece of art that you can use and enjoy with really functional game icons with a graphic design that integrates with the art to give you what we think is a lovely package. Moving on to the sewers location cards. These again have been created from scratch by a new artist. And what we've done here is to really try and make them feel very different to the caves, very different. So that you're not just adventuring in dungeons with different colors, but that they actually feel, look, and play different to one another. They are environments and they should feel like different environments. So this card is the Driftwood Trap, which is representational of a trap to catch driftwood, funnily enough, from the Low Harbour in Dunmordine. So it fits in with the theme of the game. And you'll see that the name the name badge is in the bottom left corner this time, and the environment icons have been moved up to the top right. We need that ability to be able to shift them around so that we can move where the exits are from time to time. Otherwise, you would always have the exits in the same place, which we don't think is a great way to make the game. They will normally be top left, top right, but that is not always going to be the case. So the driftwood trap itself, again, you can see dark and ambient lighting icons in the exits. You can see a lovely jetty that's been built around the driftwood trap, along with boardwalk or sidewalk planking, maybe a little bit of animal life on that planking if you look closely. And the actual card itself has a huge amount of water in there, obviously important in the sewers. The artists spend a lot of time getting the feel and the flow of the water right to give that perception of depth on the card. And you can see the trap itself, which is the netting that's been pulled across the card to stop the driftwood floating in from the Low Harbour. Along on the jetty itself, there's another search zone, which is there for obvious reasons. You may find some interesting barrels or something to look through. And below, at the bottom of the card, you can see that there's a side room with pipes going into it. That pipe is basically the rubbish disposal unit for the sewer, which dumps stuff in. And it means that you can choose to go through that barrier and find out what is in that room. But what we've tried to do is also give you some interesting stuff from an RPG perspective in there. You'll see that there are two pipes flowing out of that room, which are effectively inlets to the refuse room, sorry. And those pipes aren't used in the board game mode, but clearly, if you want to use this in an RPG as an RPG mode with a GM, absolutely you can do what you want with them and have some fantastic adventures with them. Finally, the rafts that you can see in the bottom, really pleased with those. Those are a special thing for me because we are still finalizing it to make sure that it works, but it's absolutely my intention and hope that we can include one of my favorite scenarios, which lets you ride those rafts around the sewers, which we think is a really cool thing to do. I don't want to give away any more spoilers than that, but you would have to actually get on those rafts and ride them down the different various parts of the sewers in one of the scenarios. As I say, it just needs to be checked for the 100th time that we're happy with it. We've improved the graphic design of the Discovery cards so that you can see far more information in the title bar at the top. So from the top left, you can see the pentagon with the discovery icon in it. You can then see the name of the card, the fact that it's a curiosity, meaning that this is not compulsory, unlike an encounter, and that it's a table test, which is actually telling you, in this case, you undergo a test on a table to find out the result. Finally, you can see the mastery icon in the top right, and the revised icons for lighting, so you get a +1 benefit for having a light source on this case, and also that there are fungi present, which is useful for many of the talents in the game. We've again increased the area for artwork on the obstacle cards through graphic design elements. In the title bar, you can see that this is an obstacle, an island hop, it's a trial and not a trap, and that it's a party test, which is a part of the game we have brought in to make some of the trials feel like a more cooperative effort. Effectively, everybody has to take the test rather than one person being the proxy for the whole group. And if you score particularly well, you can give other heroes in the group a help across said obstacle. In addition to that, you can also share talents and kits, which you can't normally do on other tests. It's to give you that feeling that you're all working together to get across a particularly difficult test, hence the name Party Test. Some of you may remember this art piece. It was one of the first ones that we commissioned. It was never intended to be a foe. It is an encounter, which is something that you have to deal with, but you don't fight. In this case, we have the baby water sprite, and she wants you to effectively sing her lullaby, help her get to sleep again. She's unsettled. What are you going to do about it? So the title bar at the top tells you that you have a discovery. In this case, it's an encounter and not a curiosity, and it's a stage test with a perform mastery. And a stage test we have tried to make look different to the table test so that it's really, really clear what you're doing. You can see the effectively the gold metal strips around the numbers with the arrows pointing up, kind of like belt buckles, I suppose. What they're basically saying is that you take the result and then you have to push your luck and use your talents to go up to the next stage, hence the name stage test. And if you fail, you will drop back down a stage and then effectively be closed out on the card. You must effectively stop where you are at that on that basis. So this is the one where you really want to use those bard-like abilities where, if you've got your talents correct, you can use some kind of influencing or charisma or charm type abilities, usually on encounters. And it's really down to you whether you want to push your luck to go for better or better results. But graphically, these are significantly changed from the original encounter cards. Guys, please forgive the die lines on this card. They're only there due to an oddity of rendering into the video software direct from the PDF of the card. The die lines do not exist on the demo cards we're taking to UKGE and don't exist on any final product that you're going to receive. The four cards themselves have changed quite materially in terms of their appearance. Functionally, they're pretty much the same as they always have been. But we've really tried to push the boat in terms of how they look to try and boost the immersion. That's what we're all about here. So you'll see here we've gone full art with the cards. If you have a look underneath the banner section at the bottom, it's actually deliberately semi-transparent, so you can see in this case some cobwebbing and something else a little bit more gruesome in the bottom right corner if you have a look carefully. It's just an attention to detail thing that we have. If you look at the top, the title bar is deliberately different from the other adventure deck icons because we want it to feel threatening. This is a foe that you have to deal with. In this case, you can see the foe icon in the pentagon. It's a clenched fist for simplicity to read across the table. Next to that, you have the bypass icon for if you want to try and sneak around the card. Not easy in the case of giant spiders. The fact that it's unique and also that it has 2 life per spider. Moving down to the bottom, what we've done is radically overhaul all of the icons and the way they placed in the card to give you a huge amount more space for the art. That's what we wanted to try and achieve, and really bring all the icons together in a cohesive fashion. So it still tells you the damage that it will do, the modifiers to shoot at it or in melee, and what its preference will be, whether it's ranged or melee. In the bottom middle section, you can see 1, 2, and 3 claw marks. That is a difficulty rating, which lets you self-select based on either the number of players you've got or just how difficult you want the game to feel in terms of how many foes you will interact with when you draw this particular card. So it's the ability to rank the difficulty in the game. And then finally, of course, we have the actual part in the bottom of the card, which gives us the place to put some interesting either fluff or abilities or both in this case, and trying to translate those icons for you. What that's basically saying is that if the party is careless, then in the engagement phase, i.e. the very first round of combat, then you must increase the damage dealt by 1 for that round from this creature. So you really don't want to be careless when you're fighting giant spiders, guys, because they'll do 2 damage and they'll cause fear, which is not good. You've been warned. The heroes have changed quite a bit from the original game. We spent an awful lot of time trying to get these cards right for you guys. You'll see it's now in portrait fashion rather than landscape. It's a double poker rather than a single poker. and we've put the very best hero art that we can on that card for you, because we know that you're going to look at your hero card all the time. You're going to invest your gameplay and maybe even a little bit of emotion into this character of yours that we hope is going to stay alive and you're going to level up and play for many adventures. And so we want these cards to look really amazing if to the extent that we can. So what we've done is get that improved artwork in there for you. Scott, our graphic designer, has worked endless hours to try and get the card to feel right. So on the left hand side you have a stitched leather effect, which is showing you the outfit and the items icons. Effectively, it's saying this is your backpack. It's this is the leather stitching. This is your backpack. Put stuff that you're either going to wear or put in your backpack to the left of the character. To the right of the character, you have that steel edge with the weapons icon in it. What that's basically saying to you is put all of your weapons here so you can stack your primary and secondary weapons there. No problem, you've got the space to do it. It also has the default knife there just in case you need it, and your attributes in the bottom left. Finally, at the bottom, you have your skill talents section. That is telling you to put your skill talents below the card as you need them, which would be adjacent to the weapon talents, which are on the right hand side. Lastly, I would point out that you've got your mastery pennant in the top right. As I say, we really want to push the boat out for you on the hero cards. Well, on all the cards, obviously, but the heroes in particular, and that's where we've invested a huge amount of time to try and make them look the very best that we can, guys. And so those outfits. Outfit cards, we recommend you push to the left hand side of your character as per previous discussion, and you can see the outfit icon which matches in with the icon on the occupation card. There isn't much more to them because outfits are very simple. They are a nice piece of art which fits in with the hero characters themselves. It all makes sense when you look at the hero characters, um, and usually a small modest benefit, particularly at novice level. That is an example of an outfit card, but I'm really pleased with how much better that looks than the original outfit cards that you guys were going to get. It's a cat. You guys wanted a cat, we gave you a cat. It's a type of kit card, effectively. It's a companion in this case, but you can see the kit icon on the top left. We really wanted to give you the cat. You guys asked for it. You can upgrade this into a much more scary looking cat who gets his heckles up. I don't want to spoil the artwork for you just now, but you can take your pet and grow it into a bigger cat if you upgrade it. The bit on the right hand side means that if it becomes scared, you will rotate that and effectively hide the cat underneath your occupation card so you can only see the scared section. We can talk about that another time, but it's an optional rule you can use if you want to play in legendary mode. This is a musical instrument. It's the basic version of the lyre, so it's not been upgraded at this stage. Again, if you want to use the legendary rules, you can actually rotate it and break it if you are not careful with what you're doing. But you can see the kit icon in the top left and just some lovely art there. The small assets artist that we have is just such an amazing draftsman. We're really pleased with what he's achieved here. I would say that when a piece of kit is upgraded, the texture will change as well in terms of the background of the card, so it should be really clear as to whether you're playing with the basic or upgraded version of a kit. The weapon cards have been upgraded quite materially. We have added in the optional legendary rules for breaking weapons, where you rotate and then place the card underneath the occupation card so you can only see the broken section of the rules until you fix said weapon. In addition to that, we've gone with much improved iconography down the right hand side. The icons are vastly improved over what we had before, using arrows for advance and so forth. Now you really feel like you have a spear for advance, you have cross axes for trade blows and so forth.
the the actual texture for a basic weapon or an upgraded version of it is different. So in this case, we have a kind of rough and ready, rusted feel against the worn axe. But if you were to flip it over to use the upgraded axe, then it would have a much better gunmetal texture behind it. Finally, the art itself is, of course, brand new from our artist. We've improved the weapon talent cards graphically to give you better looking icons that are more functional. So they're now all in the top right hand row. So you can see per ability the icons that are relevant and what you need to do. So in this case, if you wanted to play the reckless ability, it's telling you that it's play before roll. You can use it if you're careless or bold, and that it's melee. I would also note that the icons we've produced are now in effectively a Legends Untold font, so that we can quite easily put them within the text. We never had that ability before as well. So for Reckless, it is in fact telling you exhaust this card so that you can ignore a pushback or advanced result. Whereas for Cleave, it's telling you to drain this card to change a trade blows or advanced result into a strike. This is a skill talent card, guys. Again, apologies, the die line issue has resurfaced here, but it won't be on the cards, of course. What we've done here is really just to try and improve the cards to make it simpler to read. I think that the font idea really works in that case. If you look at fencing, for example, at the bottom, whereas before we needed a whole screed of text to tell you what was going on there. Now it basically says exhaust this card and you can increase the damage of a strike or a critical by 1. End of story. Much simpler and much happy with that. These are all brand new, guys. We have the ability to give you far more interesting events, which was pointed out by reviewers because of the stretch goals, and we were able to move event cards onto their own card from the original scenario cards. And what we've done is tried to make them feel different and more interesting. And also based on feedback that we got at conventions, we've tried to add in an optional harder mode to the game as well, called Legendary, which is the part in the gold bevel at the bottom of the card. This basically means when you elect to play the game, if you want to play in Legendary mode, then you take both impacts of the event. So if you really want to make the game harder, which many people said that they wanted the game to feel very, very hard, then you have the ability to do that. Equally so, some people may feel that the game is hard enough as it is. You do not have to use legendary effects. It's up to you. The loot cards have been improved graphically from what we had before. There was far too much parchment involved in the previous cards. What we wanted to do was really show off the new art that we've commissioned. So in this case, you have rat repellent. That will become extremely handy in some of the scenarios in the game. I shall leave it at that. And we've tried to put a little bit of humour in as well where we can, given the space on the cards. But yeah, the loot cards, they still work the same way. We've tweaked them where we can to improve the game, but they look a lot better than they did before. Here's another loot card that you guys would have seen before during one of the updates where we were running the various adventures and so forth. That was just a mock-up card. Here's the final version of the Dice of Ren card. It's dedicated to one of our backers who is quite frankly obsessed with dice. The gem die we've got there have now though been painted by our artist and to give you that perception that these are actually slightly magical dice which have been crafted by the Nimshka gemsmiths. So we're really pleased with the way this has worked out. It's a really lovely thing that we can do. We are so grateful for the backing that you guys have given us, and of course we want you guys to feel involved in the world. So delighted to be able to give something back to you. We're going to be at the UK Games Expo next week, guys, stand H19. We know that you can't all make it to join us. For those that can, you'll be very welcome. For those that can't, this is just a sneak peek of the 20 metres or so of art that we'll be showing off on the game and future plans. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, guys, that was quite a video, so thank you very much for watching all the way through. If you've got this far, I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for all of your backing and support today. It means a huge amount to us. We have definitely been on a journey with this game, and it's a real pleasure to make stuff for you guys. We just want you to know that we really appreciate it when you guys give us the comments and the support to drive us forward. We really feel like we're getting close to finishing this now and getting something to you. We need to get through final testing and get that across. But we hope that you like what we've shown you. Please do let us know what you think. Thank you so much again, and best wishes to all of you and your families. Bye bye.